When did your family first move out north of Claremore?
Well, my dad bought this farm in 1961, and he paid $300 an acre for it. It was 80 acres, had a house, a barn, a milk barn, an equipment shed, a 4-car garage. I mean, he came with a tractor, and he swore he got cheated. And they moved out there in 60. They bought it in 61. They moved out there in 66, I think. About then. And my mother wasn't real thrilled about moving to the farm, but she embraced it pretty well. She liked it after a while. She'd go buy chickens, and then she would have them running around the barn lot for 2 or 3 days, and then they'd all disappear, and there'd just be a bunch of feathers, you know. You'd say, "Mom, the coyotes got all the chickens." She says, "Oh, I know." She says, "We've had a massacre." That's what she'd say. She'd just go out and buy more chickens. She was just feeding the coyotes. I mean, I know what she was doing.
Well, and now tell us what that piece of property is out there.
Oh gosh, I would have no idea.
Well, but I don't mean the value. What is it?
Well, what we did was, and my dad was on board with this, which I kind of thought he might not be, but I asked him to file a plat on the farm, not the whole thing, but just enough that we have 10 or 12 lots in the middle of the farm with a road, and everybody could build houses out there. And so my sister built one, and then I built one, and then Mom and Dad moved off the big house on the highway and built a house there too. So we have a place for, if anybody else wants to move out there. I don't know if they will.
With the Tanner compound?
The compound, yeah.
Tanner compound. I met your father the first time when I ran out of gas. And we walked up to the door, and he kept a gas can.
Sure he did.
Apparently, I don't know whether he kept it because he knew there were going to be people running out of gas along that road, but he said, I offered to pay him. He said, "No, just take this can, fill it up with gas, and bring it back and just set it over here." So that's how I met him the first time.
And you were not the first one to ever run out of gas in his house.
I know that now.
But that was just the kind of the way he was.
That was, is that were they Cherokee?
Mom was.
She was the Cherokee. That's right. I knew she was. But your dad was not. They were not Cherokee. The Tanners were not.
Depends on who you ask that. I mean, if they were Cherokee, they were from my great grandfather married a woman in Pea Ridge, Arkansas. Her name was Buttry, and he and Mrs. Buttry moved to Claremore in about 1900 or so, or maybe a little later. But, in those days, if you didn't live in Cherokee country, if you didn't live in Oklahoma, you did not really
you didn't belong.
You would not say that you were a Cherokee, because that would be, that'd be bad. I mean, people would hurt you back in those days. This is talking about the Civil War, in that era. And so they would continually deny that they had any Cherokee blood. But if you look at my grandfather, he does not look at, they were originally from Germany. He doesn't look like a German. He looks like a Cherokee to me. But, they just didn't, they wouldn't embrace the Cherokee nation. But here, if you lived here, when they did allotments, I mean, if you could prove you're a Cherokee, they gave you a piece of land. I mean, it was a different deal.